A blind man sits beside the road outside Jericho. Dust covers his clothes. People pass us without slowing down. Some know his name. Most do not. To them, he is only another poor man asking for mercy at the edge of the city. Then he hears a crowd, feet on Hofton and stone, voices rising. Something important is happening. Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. The blind man begins to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd tells him to be quiet. They do not want his need to interrupt their moment. They do not want his voice disturbing the movement of someone important. But he cries out louder, and Jesus stops. That detail changes everything. Jesus stops. In a crowd full of noise, Jesus hears one desperate voice. Maybe you feel like that man. People move past you. Your pain feels ordinary to everyone else. You carry a need you cannot explain without sounding weak. You wonder whether God notices while life keeps moving around you. But Jesus never ignored the overlooked. He saw people other people avoided. He touched people other people feared. He called people other people dismissed. He stopped for people everyone else wanted to silence. The first time Jesus shows us this is through Bartimaeus. Jesus did not only hear his cry. He asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" Think about that. Jesus knew he was blind, yet he gave Bartimaeus dignity by inviting him to speak his need. Jesus still does that. He does not treat you like a problem to solve. He invites you to bring your real pain to him. The first truth is simple. Jesus sees you when others only see your need. The crowd saw a blind beggar. Jesus saw Bartimaeus. The crowd wanted silence. Jesus wanted relationship. And perhaps Jesus is asking you the same question today. What do you want me to do for you? Not what do people expect you to say. Not what do you pretend is fine. What do you truly need? Bring that answer to Jesus. He is still stopping for people who cry out. The second time, Jesus showed that he never ignores the overlooked happened beside a well in Samaria. It was noon, the hottest part of the day. Most women came for water early in the morning, when the air was cool and the village was awake. But this woman came alone at noon. She had reasons. Her life had become the subject of whispers. Broken relationships followed her name. She knew the looks. She knew how quickly people could reduce a whole person to their worst choices. Then Jesus sat beside the well, and he waited for her. This matters because Jews and Samaritans did not normally share life together. There was history, division, suspicion, and hatred. A rabbi did not usually sit alone, speaking with a Samaritan woman. But Jesus did. He asked her for water. Then he offered her living water. Jesus knew her past before she explained it. He knew the pain. He knew every place she had searched for love and come back thirsty. Yet he did not turn away. He did not call her worthless. He did not pretend her sin did not matter. He spoke truth with mercy. That is what Jesus does. The world often makes you feel that you must hide before you can be accepted. Jesus invites you to come into the light so he can make you whole. The second truth is this. Jesus sees you when shame makes you hide. Maybe you have been avoiding prayer because you feel too dirty to speak to God. Maybe you are carrying a private failure. Maybe you think people would reject you if they knew the whole truth. Maybe you have become so used to hiding that you do not know how to be honest anymore. Jesus already knows, and he still sits beside the well. He is not waiting to expose you for public shame. He is waiting to meet you with the truth that makes you free. Here's what most people miss. The woman came to the well, hoping not to be seen. She left the well, telling her whole town about Jesus. The very person who had hidden from people became a witness to them. That is what grace can do. It does not only forgive your past, it gives you a future. The third time, Jesus showed that he sees the overlooked happened in a crowded house. A paralyzed man could not walk. His friends carried him to where Jesus was teaching, but the crowd blocked every entrance. They could have given up. Instead, they climbed onto the roof, opened it, and lowered their friend down in front of Jesus. Imagine the room becoming quiet, dust falling from above, religious leaders watching, a man lying helpless on a mat. Jesus looked at him, and before he healed his body, Jesus said, "Son, your sins are forgiven." That word matters. Son Jesus saw more than a disabled body. He saw a man with a soul, a name, and a place in the Father's heart. Jesus sees the part of you that nobody else can heal, and he has not forgotten you. The third truth is this: Jesus sees you when your weakness becomes your whole identity to other people. The crowd saw a paralyzed man. Jesus saw a son. People may know you by the visible struggle, the person with anxiety, the person with illness, the person with illness, the person who failed, the person whose marriage ended, the person who cannot seem to move forward. But Jesus sees deeper than the label. He sees the part of you that still hopes. He sees the faith that brought you to him. He sees pain you cannot put into words, and he does not turn away. The fourth time Jesus showed this happened when a woman touched the edge of his garment. She had been bleeding for 12 years, 12 years of weakness, 12 years of doctors, 12 years of money spent without healing, 12 years of being treated as unclean, separated, and forgotten. She believed that if she could only touch Jesus' clothing, she would be healed. So she reached through the crowd, and power went out from him. But Jesus stopped. He asked, "Who touched me?" The disciples did not understand. The crowd was pressing in from every side. Hundreds of people were near him. Why stop for one touch? Because Jesus does not lose people inside a crowd. He knew her. He called her daughter, not outcast, not unclean, not problem, daughter. The fourth truth is this: Jesus sees you when you have suffered longer than anyone understands. Maybe you have carried something for years. A grief people expect you to be over by now. A battle you are tired of explaining. A prayer you keep praying after everyone else stopped asking about it. Jesus sees every year. He sees the nights. He sees the tears. He sees the moments you smiled in public while breaking in private. And he does not measure your faith by how quickly you recover. He calls you near. The fifth time Jesus showed this was when he met Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, wealthy, hated, and isolated. People saw a traitor, a thief, a man who had harmed his own people. When Jesus entered Jericho, Zacchaeus climbed a tree just to see him pass by. But Jesus looked up. "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." Jesus called him by name. He saw a man everyone else had already judged, and that encounter changed Zacchaeus. He repaid what he had stolen. He gave generously. His life turned in a new direction. Here's what most people miss. Jesus does not wait until you change before he sees you. He sees you, and his grace begins changing you. The fifth truth is this: Jesus sees you when other people have already decided who you are. Zacchaeus had a reputation. He was wealthy, but not respected. He had money, but little love. People knew what tax collectors did. They worked with Rome. They took more than they should. They became rich while others suffered. So when Jesus entered Jericho, Nobody expected him to choose Zacchaeus, but Jesus looked up into that tree. "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down." Jesus did not call him by his worst label. He called him by name. And then Jesus said something shocking. "I must stay at your house today." The crowd complained. They could not understand why Jesus would enter the home of a sinner. But Zacchaeus did not need another person to remind him of his sin. He needed an encounter with the one who could change him. And Jesus did. Zacchaeus stood up and said he would give half of his goods to the poor. If he had cheated anyone, he would repay 4 times as much. Grace did not excuse his sin. Grace transformed his heart. Maybe you have lived too long beneath a name people gave you: failure, addict, divorced, rejected, unfaithful, too far gone. Maybe you have even begun calling yourself those names. But Jesus sees beyond the name shame gave you. He sees the person he created. He sees the future his grace can build. He sees a heart that can still return. The 6th time Jesus showed that, he sees the overlooked happened on the road to Nain. A widow was walking behind a funeral procession. Her only son had died. In that world, this was not only grief, it was fear. Without a husband and without a son, her future was uncertain. Her protection was gone. Her support was gone. Her home could become a place of loneliness and loss. Jesus saw her. Luke says that when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her. Then he said, "Do not weep." Jesus walked to the coffin and touched it. The crowd stopped. The young man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. You may be carrying a loss nobody can fix with words. A person you loved is gone. A season you dreamed about ended. A door closed and took part of your future with it. Perhaps people told you to be strong. Perhaps they moved on before you could. But Jesus sees the widow walking behind the coffin. He sees the loss behind your smile. He sees the future you fear has died, and he is full of compassion. Sometimes his compassion changes the circumstance. Sometimes he carries you through it. But he never looks away. The 7th time Jesus showed that he never ignores you happened in a garden after his resurrection. Mary Magdalene stood near the empty tomb, crying. She had come looking for the body of Jesus. Instead, the tomb was open, the stone was moved, and the body was gone. The angels asked her why she was crying, but even their words could not reach through her grief. Then Mary turned and saw Jesus standing there. But she did not recognize him. She thought he was the gardener. Jesus asked, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" He knew the answer. He knew her grief. He knew she had watched him die. He knew the empty tomb had created more questions than hope. But Jesus allowed her to speak. Then he said one word, "Mary." And she recognized him, not because the garden changed, not because every question was answered. She recognized him because he called her by name. That is the 7th truth. Jesus sees you when grief makes it difficult to recognize him. You may be surrounded by evidence that God is working, but your tears make it difficult to see. You may be standing near a miracle and still feel abandoned. You may be looking at an empty tomb, wondering where Jesus is, but he has not forgotten your name. The world may reduce you to your pain. Jesus calls you personally. The world may see your past. Jesus sees your redemption. The world may see your weakness. Jesus sees the person he is restoring. The world may see your grief. Jesus sees the faith still breathing underneath it. And when Jesus calls your name, everything begins to change. Mary came to the tomb grieving. She left as the first person sent to announce the resurrection. The woman at the well came hiding. She left as a witness. Zacchaeus climbed a tree as a rejected man. He came down as a changed man. Bartimaeus sat beside the road in darkness. He rose and followed Jesus. Your encounter with Jesus may begin in the place where you feel most overlooked. Return road outside Jericho. Bartimaeus sitting dust, crowd moving, Jesus passing. Everyone tells him quiet, but he refuses. Jesus, son David, have mercy me. Then Jesus stops. Moment should stay heart. Jesus stops. Not because crowd loud, not because Bartimaeus important world's eyes. Jesus stops because he sees person others ignored. He sees you same way. You may feel like Bartimaeus, sitting edge life while everybody else moves forward. You may feel woman well, hiding shame. You may feel paralyzed man, known only weakness. You may feel woman bleeding, tired after years' pain. You may feel Zacchaeus, trapped by past. You may feel widow Nain, carrying grief cannot explain. You may feel Mary Magdalene, crying so deeply you cannot recognize Jesus near. But Jesus sees you, not general way, not distant way, personally. He knows name, knows cry, knows history, knows secret pain, knows faith you afraid almost gone. And he not ignoring you. Here 3 truths remember. First, Jesus sees person behind pain. Your struggle not whole identity. You not diagnosis, failure, loss, past or worst moment. You are person Jesus calls near. Second, Jesus meets people place they are, but his grace never leaves them same. He saw a woman well and gave living water. He saw Zacchaeus and changed heart. He saw Mary Magdalene and sent her with good news. You do not need become perfect before Jesus sees you. He sees you now and transforms you through love. Third, when people pass you, Jesus still stops. He may answer different way you hoped. He may work more slowly you want. But he does not turn face away. So ask yourself honest question. Which person in this video feels most like you right now? Bartimaeus, woman well, paralyzed man, woman bleeding, Zacchaeus, widow Nain, or Mary Magdalene? Tell me comments, not to compare pain. But name place you need Jesus meet you. And if you feel invisible today, remember this. Jesus sees you. Jesus knows name. Jesus has not passed you by.